Today we are going to be seasoning clay pots. The reason that this pot is so cool is okay, I had alluded in an earlier video, in my mugwort mochi video, that I would be doing kind of like a little bit of a Japanese haul because I did recently get a couple of pieces of cookware directly from Japan, and this is not meant to be a haul video. I only bought a couple of pieces, so I'm just going to show you like a couple of what things of what I bought, and then we'll be seasoning this guy together. Okay, so this is the first one, and you guys saw this in the mochi special. It actually came really neatly wrapped in like a box and a lot of bubble wrap, but I've kind of rewrapped it a bit. So this is a zero pot. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but the really cool thing about Japan and Japanese culture is that they really do appreciate the artisan and the craftsman. And when they make things for quality that will last for years to come, or like, you know, just for a really long time, which in turn means that a lot of the times they end up costing a lot of money. This pot originally was the reason that I wanted to make an order in the first place. I had seen somebody with this pot and I thought that it looked really amazing. So this is without this first, but if you guys can see, it's basically a hammered aluminum pot. Okay, and some people, like, this is actually a steaming pot, but like some kinds of these hammered pots, they'll be lined with copper as well for better conductivity, and copper is also just really expensive now that we have a lot of like the metals that are used for various other like electronic purposes. Like metals are actually quite pricey, but this one is supposed to be kind of just for steaming, or you could also make your pastas in it as well, because obviously it's not non-stick, so it might not really work in terms of like general cooking, but for steaming and for pastas, it's really good. And the really cool thing about it is that for a little bit extra, you can put this steamer attachment on it. So you're making pasta, you're making your soup, something like water-based, and then you want to just add this on, and I don't know why I don't have everything up here, and then put your steamer right on top. Now it does double duty, which is really cool, which is how we used it in the first place. I know a lot of people have seen like these like hammered pots before, but I think the really cool thing about this is it was supposed to be like a less expensive option to the copper ones, but when you hold it, I always tell you guys about like, you know, like when you have like a quality pot, like sometimes like you'll see something like this on camera and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's like really light, it's made of aluminum, it's probably going to dent or something. When I took this out of the box, there was some really like good weight on it. So it like felt like it was something special. It felt like it was something like, you know, handmade and hand done, because like not all of the hammered bits are identical, which is quite nice. I cooked with it for the first time. I think I just need to find out how to wash it, but like the water line kind of like left a little bit of a sepia filter right on the very bottom, but I think I just need to know or learn how to clean it a little bit. It is from Tokyo. It's from the Nakamura Copperware Manufacturing Company from Tokyo, and they've been doing or making pots for like 40 years or so. So I really only ended up getting kind of like big ticketed items, because you can't really find that here in the UK. In terms of price, they were really not that bad if you like compare it to like the Le Creuset or just having pots of that size. But what got expensive was like, one, it was the shipping, and then two, we have the VAT here, we have the import VATs here, and then 3, customs also has a charge on it. So everything was just added on, and by the time it got here, I feel like it was a lot more expensive than I thought I'd be spending on it, but I need to quicken this up. I only got 4 things, but this was like the smaller of the products that I got. So this was right around like, I think it was like $11 or something, and it's the Kia unbleached linen. And so you can potentially just use this as like, I mean, however you use linen, but what they did mention was that you could put this over like a pot that was cooling with rice in it, and then this would absorb some of that liquid. They also said you could potentially clean with it as well, and because it's unbleached, you don't really have to worry about like any of the chemicals or anything. There's something like kind of like nice and stiff about this cloth. Really reminds me of like a stationery store, or like something that's like very like clean, very clean and Japanesey. Well, the third thing that I got was this clay pot here. Ooh. It's actually really, really big. It doesn't translate that well. Usually when I buy pots, because I like to photograph them and I don't really make big amounts, I usually only get, this is like a 10-inch pot, but I think normally I would gear towards like a 7-inch in diameter. This is the second clay pot that I got, the other clay pot, and it's because they ran out of the small ones. And this pot is quite cool because, let me just get the exact information. The cool thing about this is in Iga pottery clay, and this clay creates a lot of pores. It's quite porous. I know most clays do, but I guess this one might specifically do. And so for that reason, because of all of these pores, it heats up slowly, but the heat also dissipates slowly, which is kind of like a characteristic of this one as well. And that's why people like cooking things in clay pots, especially things like rice or like more gentle things, is because it's able to like really slowly go up and then slowly have the heat slowly go down. I like it just because the color is different. I like that it's white. You can see that half of it is glazed and then the bottom half is not. But even with the glaze, you can totally see that I don't know if this is like a good thing or a bad thing. Even with the glaze, you can kind of still feel the texture, and I wonder if like it is still semi-porous, okay? Which is why we have to season these pots. So let me put all of these aside. So the star of our show, yeah, this is how all of them like came in. So it was quite nicely wrapped. So this is a Gohan nabe. So a donabe is any kind of like clay pot that the Japanese cook with. But Gohan means rice. So this is specifically a clay pot made for rice cooking, which I imagine you can do a couple of other things to it, but it is also like a very rough kind of clay. Like it actually looks very much like the other one that we just saw, but this particular type comes from the Toika region of Japan. So it's actually a city that, you know, like Japan has that kind of like backwards L, and it's right around the L-ish region. I will tell you why this thing is so amazing. So not only do you have one, do you guys see this? You have two levels of I guess like heat insulation. So there you go. It feels nice, and like you have all of these like marks of like, I don't know, like artisans touching it. So it's quite cool. So this is how it looks. There's like that rim there for the first cover. Everything inside is glazed. I mean, this feels like it's quite smooth of a glaze, but I don't know how this works, but like sometimes like with glazes you can see like little cracks in it. I mean, it's still glazed, but like the glaze itself has little cracks in it, and I don't necessarily think that this means that the thing is porous, but I think according to my instructions, which I will read to you guys right now, we'll go into detail, and then I'll go into seasoning this pan. What is useful with this lid, not only as an extra layer of insulation, is when rice boils, obviously it likes to boil over the pot. That is why I think a lot of people end up getting, you know, like rice cookers is so that doesn't happen. It does, so that it does not boil over. And so I think this helps with that insulation, and that the rice doesn't boil over, and then you have like this additional thing to keep everything nice and warm so that it heats up slowly, but then the heat dissipates slowly. And this is a heat resistant earthenware pot. You can put it in the oven, which is what it's used a lot for, and then you can put it over an open fire. But for the same reason that the clay is heat resistant, it's also very water absorbent. Like usually for maybe some type of earthenware pots, a special chemical or like something called petallene is put into it so that the earthenware doesn't crack as easily. But this is supposed to be all natural, like Iga clay pot, so they don't have any of that. So that is why essentially we have to seal it some more, and that is why we are seasoning it today, is because it can have some micro cracks in it, and like this thing is also water absorbent as well, so this will help a little bit in like sealing all of the parts. Although, like I mentioned, the inside of this is like really smooth. It reminds me of any like plate that you would have at home. So the fact that you would need to seal it, like for the other one, I would see that you need to seal it because I could feel how rough it is, and I could almost feel like there might be like little micro holes in it. But for this one, it actually feels really just like normal. It feels really smooth. So it's interesting what we're gonna do today. Do not soak the pot, which if you guys know about like the Chinese clay pots that I sometimes use, they actually say soak it overnight and then use it the next day so that the ceramic doesn't crack. But for this one, it's saying don't soak it or else it might get moldy. Do not make oil cooked dishes in this pot. So because it is water absorbent, there might be some like water in it. If you subject it to oil cooking, which tends to require higher heat, I guess either this thing could crack, or like I'm not sure if it would explode, so I don't think it should, but it might crack. So they said it could be dangerous. Do not conduct no water burning for a really long time, and then do not cool this pot down in a drastic manner. So again, it's a little bit like glass, where like you don't want to put it into something like really hot and then submerge it into something like really cold at the same time. Everything could crack. So you have to take care of this really well. So this is how to seal it. Because of these like micro pores, because of these like little cracks that can happen, that is the reason that you need to season or seal the inside of the pot. So it's very much like a cast iron skillet. It's really the same idea. So how you do this is put water and 2 to 3 spoons of flour into the earthenware. After boiling the contents on medium heat, leave it to cool down, then wash away the content. You can also make rice porridge as well if you don't use wheat. So I thought, because it was going to be a rice cooker anyways, let's just make a rice thing. So I think because this has just rice in it, I'm gonna just boil it a little bit longer, just so that the rice breaks down a little bit and then can get into the little cracks and pores. So anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this little mini haul with me, and now y'all know how to season your clay pots.